Hello, everyone. It is like lunchtime on Thursday, March 5th, and I'm, as always, just logging thoughts. I read this morning that the Virginia Supreme Court cleared the way for the redistricting referendum to go forward for Virginia. If that referendum were to get voted in favor of by voters, it would shift the balance of congressional seats from being like 6-5 or something Democrats to Republicans to 10-1. And I have mixed feelings. So it just seemed like a good opportunity to talk about those feelings and what it could mean for our democracy as a whole. As of today, and to be honest, I kind of am interested in your thoughts because I try not to have my heart set in stone about things where I can help it. So if you're on Instagram and you have thoughts, I kind of want to hear them. But as of today, I feel like I'm inclined to vote against the referendum redistricting. I don't read much in terms of books because I'm very busy and it's just hard to find the time. And what time I have that's free, I kind of just want to recharge. But one book that stands out in recent-ish memory is How Democracies Die by Daniel Ziblatt and Stephen Levitsky. And their argument was that the health of democracies rests on two pillars: mutual tolerance, and forbearance. Mutual tolerance is when both sides in a political dispute can live with, the other side being in power or just not always being in control. And forbearance is when people practice restraint and don't act opportunistically, seizing on every opportunity. This is what we normally refer to as norms. And they did a very good job documenting cases around the world currently and throughout history where you could see mutual toleration and forbearance breaking down and the democracies would erode pretty quickly. Now, in like roughly 9 states around the United States, the powers that be are scrambling to redistrict their states and make the gerrymandering more extreme. So if you're in a reddish state, it gets super red, and if you're in a bluish state, it gets super blue. And then at the same time, we wonder why Congress is paralyzed and can't get anything done, and why the polarization is so extreme. And we don't reckon with the role that we as citizens and as state voters play in those dynamics. And there's points in a conflict where you need to stand up for yourself and show strength. And there's also a point where if you want the fighting to stop, you kind of have to stop fighting. And so I understand everything that is at stake, but listening to all the voices out there on so many sides of different issues, what I hear is a lot of fear. People are terrified that there is no place for them in this world. And in their fear, they're rationalizing extreme and opportunistic actions, civic and otherwise, under the belief that, well, they're just going to do it to me, so I might as well do it first. We got to break that cycle, I think. And it's not going to get broken for us. We have to break it. And I think the way we break it is when we have the opportunity, we show restraint. I know where President Obama stands on this. He supports the redistricting. I respect him greatly, but I've disagreed with him a few times in his political life. And I respect Eric Holder and all he's done to with the to stop gerrymandering. But one of my greatest fears strategically are Pyrrhic victories. You won the battle, but the city burned to the ground. On a personal level, one of the ideas I loathe most is the idea of becoming the thing you are fighting, or you give up so much of yourself in the form of your principles that the price of victory was too high. In the midst of all this chaos and distress, I find myself thinking about what kind of world I want. And what I most want is a world where I can relax, where I don't have to constantly be looking over my shoulder, worrying about unseen enemies trying to dominate me all the time. Is that a fear that others around me are sharing? If so, then maybe the best way to tamp down my fears is to affirm for others that they have nothing to fear from me. That I am not scared of their ideas because I'm confident in my own ideas, and I'm confident that the ideas I hold to can win at a ballot box with fair-minded people. I'm probably in a very small minority in still believing that, but that's where my head's at today. And regardless of whether folks are inclined to agree with me or disagree with me, regardless of whether I change my mind later or not, it seems important to at least gut check and ask ourselves, what are we fighting for? And how do we want to fight it? And on how many different planes is that fight actually occurring? It's not always a physical fight. Sometimes it's a fight just to stay true to who you are. I have a friend who's going through a very hard time right now, and I'm so proud of them because as hard a time as they're going through, they're still remaining who they've always been. And it's brilliant to see. And I want that for myself, and I want that for our country. I want us to not just end this, but to end this with our ideals still intact. Anyway, that's where my head is today. I'm logging that for the record, and I genuinely do want to hear where your head and heart are at and why. Thanks so much. Have a great day and get some sunshine.